Hi everyone, and thanks for joining this week's live broadcast where we're going to be printing for the holidays. So we're going to be doing a variety of different projects, and that ranges anywhere from apparel to gift items, and then some home decor items as well. So we'll be using all heat transfer vinyl and some sign vinyl. And the first project that we're going to be doing is a Christmas ornament. All right, so I have my sign vinyl already cut out. Okay, so I have the red single color, and then I have my patterns. Okay, so this pattern is called Bohemian Dreams, and it is one of our newer patterns that I selected the colors for so that we could personalize this Christmas ornament. Now, before we apply this, I just want to show you real quick on the Stahls website how I was able to achieve this pattern with the Christmas color, since that's the holiday that I'm printing for. All right, so I have Stahls already brought up on my desktop, and I'm on the patterns page. All right, so we have 3 selections here: Creative, Studios, Realtree, and Spectra. All right, so you may already be familiar with Spectra patterns from the Imprintables warehouse selection of patterns. So we did bring those on. We have our Realtree camo, and then the Stahls Creative Studios, where we generate a lot of new patterns in, especially around the holidays. So before I show you the Bohemian Dreams pattern, I'm going to go to the holiday section just so that you can see all there is to choose from. So there are a lot of options. We're constantly updating these. So I'm just going to scroll through these and let you just look at all of these different patterns. So one of my favorites that we added is the Christmas Paisley. Now this was one of our really popular patterns that generated a lot of interest whenever we brought this on. So we actually took this pattern and made it Christmas related, right? So we incorporated trees in there, different Christmas elements, right? So if I go to select colors, I can choose here from different color combinations that are hand selected from the Stahls team that creates the patterns, which are just popular colorways that you can choose from. Now, if I want to choose my own colors, then I can individually select these color combinations up here. Okay, so these are all individual colors that are being incorporated into the pattern that I see up here. So if I wanted to change the pastel yellow to a different color such as ivory, I have the option to do that. Okay, and I can change cardinal to maybe a brighter red, so I'll choose the bright red in there, and then I can just interchange all of these to be whatever color that I want it to be. Right, so that's exactly what I did with that Bohemian Dreams pattern. So we'll go back to our Stahls Creative Studios tab, and all of my categories will generate. And where that Bohemian Dreams pattern is located is in Expressions. All right, so we've recently added a lot of fun, really bright and colorful patterns to our collection, and they are all in that Expressions category. So this is the Bohemian Dreams. I'm going to select that. That pattern will start to generate up here. I'll go to select colors, and then I can choose from here what I want my colors to be. So before I do that, I'm going to go to color combinations and just select one that's going to be kind of close to the color that I want. So I want to change my maroon to a Kelly green. I'm going to keep my ribbon pink, but change my jazz pink to bright red. I want a little more green in there, so I'm going to choose a lighter green. That's a step up from the Kelly. And then I'm going to just keep changing these into different colors that are going to be more Christmas inspired. Actually going to change the Amazon green to more of an apple green. And then change my Cabernet to another color, so maybe maroon. All right, so you get the idea. I'm able to just go through this and hand select what patterns I want to be incorporated so that I can go after pretty much whatever holiday or market. If I was doing something for a school, I could change these to match the school colors. All right, so once I have all of my colors selected, I'm able to choose what finish I want that in. So whenever I check out, I'm going to go to select material, and I can either order it in express print, which is our matte heat transfer vinyl, the glitter, which is another heat transfer vinyl, and then Orajet 3164. And that is going to be my sign vinyl. So to get sign vinyl, I'll select that and then just select how much of that I want. I usually go with the 5 yards just so I know I have enough to work with. And then, of course, I need the masking. All right, so you can see here that it works just like any other sign vinyl. I don't mirror my image before I cut it or anything, and then I use that Aura tape to mask it and get it to transfer so that the adhesive is exposed and able to be adhered to whatever substrate I want to apply it to. All right, so we'll go ahead with that project. And I just want to poll the audience. I see a lot of you guys commenting in, but there's an ongoing debate in the office right now on whether or not this Christmas ornament is called a Christmas bulb or ball, right? So I call it bulb, and I'm just curious to know what everybody else is calling it. All right, so there's a few of us that say bulb, and then a few of us that are like, no, it's definitely a Christmas ball. All right, we've Googled, we're getting mixed questions and answers about it, so I'm interested in knowing what you guys call this type of Christmas ornament.
Kristen Richie says bulb.
All right, so it looks like some of you guys are commenting in. Kristen agrees with me. She thinks it's called bulb too.
Lynn says bulb.
All right, so I think we're winning right now. Those that think thinks it's called bulb, not ball. All right, so whenever you're working with an item that is rounded, you have to really just manipulate this so that it is fitting that item without really wrinkling or anything. Could have made my design a little bit smaller so that it's not being too rounded because I am getting some wrinkling. So just as a best practice, if you're going to do rounded surfaces with sign vinyl, that you might want to make your design a little bit smaller than how I did right there. This is about 4 inches in width. If I would have just dropped it to 3, I'd probably get less wrinkling there. All right, so after I squeegee that down, I can go ahead and peel this up. I'm going to be nice and careful since that is starting to lift where some of it did wrinkle. Okay. All right, so that is that Bohemian Dreams pattern. And we always recommend that if you're going to do a pattern and you really want it to pop off of whatever item you're applying it to do a contour cut and do it in a solid color so that makes this pattern really pop off. All right, and this design is even larger than the one I just applied, so may have a little trouble getting that to apply. But we will do our best. All right, so I'm just starting from the middle and working my way out, getting this as much pressure as I possibly can so that that adhesive starts to stick.
We're like 4 to 3 people. 4 people say ball and 3 people say bulb.
All right, looks like the Christmas ball people are winning. Where's my bulb people at? Support me here. The video girl that's in here with me today helping with this live, she thinks it's bulb too, so she supports. She's team bulb.
They're asking where we got the ornaments from, and I got those from.
Okay, this ornament is from Hobby Lobby. Okay, so they come in a pack. I'm sure there are some out there wholesale, but I didn't actually have time to research whether or not they are wholesale or not. Okay, so that is putting sign vinyl onto a Christmas bulb. So our sign vinyl works very well with glass. I'm just going to go around the edges where it kind of picked up, where some pieces are not taking to the curve of the bulb too well. All right, so just be careful if you are going to do this to shrink your design a little bit. It did turn out pretty okay, but there are some pieces when you're looking at it in person that are starting to kind of overlap each other. So if I would have just been able to size this down a little bit, that would have helped with that. Okay, yes, Kristen, they are glass. All right, but our sign vinyl adheres to ceramic, any of that really thick plastic, because some of the Christmas bulbs are made of a plastic material, and it adheres well to that as well. All right, so I'm just gonna toss this in the trash. All right, so that is our first project. It looks like we're all good on questions so far. All right, and our next application is actually going to be a onesie. We're going to be doing adhesive and foil. So we'll go ahead and head to the press. The onesie that I'm applying to today is from Cavio. And I just love this onesie because it has a lot of color blocking in it, and it's perfect for this time of year, especially if you're decorating for Christmas, to be able to mix and match different heat transfer vinyl to make that and incorporate that same red color in your design. All right, so again, that's from Cavio. That's spelled K-A-V-I-O for those of you that aren't familiar. And I'm just loading this on here and making sure that all of my seams or these buttons that could possibly get in the way of an uneven pressure are completely out of the way. So if my buttons were on here and I tried to apply, my top of the heat press would hit these before it would hit my design, and then my design just would not apply at all, or it would in some parts and not the rest. So I want to make sure that any thick seams and buttons are completely out of the way. All right, so we have our print area completely isolated. And before I do this, I'm going to place my design down to make sure I have enough room. All right, and I am just making that edge. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do a preheat because that's going to release any moisture or wrinkles in the fabric. And a tip for applying adhesive, you always want to make sure that you're using a garment that has a nice tight weave of cotton. If not, there's a chance that some pinholes will start to be created in that adhesive because it's just such a thin material that it will take on any fabric that you apply it to. All right, so adhesive applies at a nice light pressure. My pressure is reading at a 1. For a Hotronix machine, a light pressure is anywhere between a 1 and a 3. All right, so I always want to make sure I'm at that low end. Right, it is a hot peel, so I can go ahead and peel that back. And as you'll notice that I'm peeling this, I'm holding onto my garment a little bit because if I just rip that right off of there real fast, the design could potentially get distorted. Okay, so if I ripped it here, it would kind of look like it's stretched. Again, it's a very thin material, so you do have to be careful with that. But if you're following those instructions, it's very simple to work with. All right, so for this application, we're going to be doing a multicolor foil. All right, so we're going to be doing the green and the red, so you can see my green stripes. And I'm just going to be striping this up by laying these pieces of green foil across my design like so. Okay, so I still have some adhesive exposed there. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I am covering and filling in all of those gaps. So where my green is laid down on the adhesive, it'll apply there, and now my red is going to apply everywhere else there is exposed heat transfer vinyl. All right, so I do have my foil here. I want to make sure that I am using a cover sheet with this application because there is a chance that foil will actually start to stick up to the heating platen just from pressure, and it will start to peel. All right, so adhesive is a cold peel, and if it peels too hot, it won't actually stick to that adhesive. Another thing is I just tighten my knob because this is going to be a firm pressure. So I want my press to read anywhere between a 7 and a 9 if I'm using a Hotronix machine. Now, of course, there's a few of you out there that are probably not working with a Hotronix machine. So just keep in mind that there are always accessories that you can utilize with your heat press to print garments like this one, okay? So just because I have a press that might not have these interchangeable platens, I can use items such as pillows and pads. All right, so as we wait for that to cool down, I'll speak a little bit to these accessories that you can use. All right, so this is the pillow. It's a foam covered with what we would probably know as Teflon, all right, but we call it a reusable fabric. It's a lot like a reusable cover sheet, and we stick foam in there so that we can utilize this if we're printing items like a onesie where we need to raise one area and let the rest of them just kind of sink into that pillow. All right, and then we also have printing pads, okay? And again, this is for those of you that need accessories that have presses that don't have the interchangeable option for the platens. So just keep in mind that these are options that you have to be able to print unique items like onesies and even smaller t-shirts or t-shirts that have buttons and zippers, okay? So if I don't have an interchangeable platen, but I want to put this left chest logo in there, but that zipper is going to get in the way, I can just use this pad, put it underneath there, and apply my design because everything's going to fall off to the side of this pad and just raise that one area. All right, Cheryl asked, maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear you say what type of material you use for the ornament. That is our sign vinyl, okay? So we used our pattern sign vinyl and just our regular single color, which has a glossy finish to it, okay? And this should be nice and cooled down, so we'll switch back over to the other cam so that you guys can see how this finish comes out. All right, so I can remove the green. And that design is complete. All right, so foil has a nice bright finish to it, but that's not the only finish that you can get with it. Okay, so I'm actually gonna lay this back down onto my platen, and I won't worry about threading this time because I'm just going to hit this for a couple extra seconds. And what this is going to do is give it a low luster effect. So right now I have a really nice high mirror-like shine to it. But if I want to make this have something more low luster, then all I have to do is cover it with a cover sheet and tack it for an additional 2 to 3 seconds. Okay, so we'll remove that cover sheet and you can see that that changed that finish to be more matte and low luster. So it's still shiny, it still has a nice special effect to it, but it just doesn't have that mirror-like finish. Okay. So that is our first application, or our second application actually, but first for apparel. All right, so that is a really popular opportunity for the holidays is doing onesies. Okay, so any customization that you can get into for families, companion tees, because they're always getting pictures around this time of year, and just being able to do a t-shirt for the whole family where they're all matching is a great opportunity. So if you just post one item and they happen to see that, then that ends up working out for that whole family. All right, so our next apparel item is a shawl. All right, so it's kind of like a poncho, but the sleeves are open. All right, and this is purchased from Wholesale Boutique. Okay, so this comes in a variety of different patterns. So this is their new cheetah or leopard pattern, but they do offer a lot of plaid finishes as well. And why I wanted to show this today is because this is actually made of acrylic. All right, and acrylic can be a little hard to print. All right, so there's a chance of scorching. Oh, and I forgot to say that this is reversible as well, so you can do the light and the dark. Okay, all right, so we're gonna be doing the dark side. All right, so what I'm gonna do is personalize the bottom of this. And like I mentioned earlier, whenever we're applying with acrylic, it can be a little bit worrisome for this to melt. So we're just going to do a quick tack to release moisture and wrinkles. And we're going to be customizing this or personalizing this, since it's a monogram, with CAD Cut Metallic. Okay, so CAD Cut Metallic is a really high shine finish as well, similar to the foil application we just saw. And but what's nice about it is it applies at a nice low temp. So we'll be applying this at 300 degrees, and it only applies for 8 to 10 seconds. Now, this is going to be a one-step foil. All right, so this has the adhesive and that foil-like finish already on there. So all I had to do was send this to my vinyl cutter in a mirror finish, or a mirror effect, and then I weeded it out, and now we're heat applying it. Okay. All right, so you'll see that I placed down a special cover sheet, and this is a silicone type material, and this is going to protect my acrylic from getting too much heat so that it doesn't melt. All right, so this is a heat sensitive fabric that we are applying, so we do need to take extra precaution. And this cover sheet is called a flexible application pad, and that's what's going to protect this acrylic from melting. So anytime we're using this cover sheet, we need to make sure that we are following the certain instructions that it applies. So when we're applying CAD Cut Metallic, we know it applies at 300 degrees, and I only have to apply it for 8 to 10 seconds. However, when I'm using this cover sheet, I need to increase my time an additional 10 seconds. So instead of applying it for 8 seconds, I'll be applying it for 18 seconds. So we're not doubling our time, we're just adding an additional 10. All right, so I can lock this down. And then this is another cold peel material similar to the foil after that adhesive step. And then we can peel that carrier back. Okay, so you can see that my material, the fabrication that we just applied, is completely fine. There's no box, there's no scorching. So this cover sheet was able to let me personalize this without damaging the blank. All right, so just to speed up the cool down process for this material, I'm going to place this on a cold surface. And then I can peel back my metallic. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so this does that same thing. It has that nice mirror-like finish to it. However, if I did want to get that low luster effect, I can just do the same thing I did with foil and apply it again for that 2 to 3 seconds. Now I am going to leave it as is since I already showed you the low luster finish. That way we can move on to our next application. But just keep in mind you're able to achieve that with CAD Cut Metallic as well. Okay, so that's what we have for apparel today. Now we're going to move on to some other items that you can be selling to your customers for decor. All right, so we already have a stocking heat applied. All right, and this is another wholesale boutique item. Right, and all we did was took some fluorescent green glitter flake and applied it to the stocking. Right, so we're able to have personalization on the stockings that our customers will hang from a fireplace or what have you, just to add some decoration for this time of year. All right, and now we're going to do a matching tree skirt. All right, so both items are purchased from Wholesale Boutique, and to personalize the tree skirt, because it is a large item, we're going to switch out our 6x10 platen and put in the standard 16x20. So I'm just going to drop that into place and then close my latch. That'll lock that down. And now that I've put in a new platen, I need to double check my pressure, right? Because my pressure does change a little bit whenever I'm interchanging different platens. Okay, so to find center of the tree skirt, I'm going to open this up. And it's pretty simple to find because the back is open, all right? So that's going to be exactly center in the front, right? And there is a little seam there for me to kind of be a guideline for me to make sure that I'm nice and lined up. Okay, So earlier we talked about seams being on the platen and causing uneven pressure. Now this is a little trick that I tell decorators. If the seam is a pretty thin seam and I don't think that it's going to cause any uneven pressure up further from the item that I'm decorating, then I don't have to worry about pushing this off of the platen. I'm going to be decorating down here, so the seams that I need to be careful of are down here. All right, so those are falling off, and I'm going to decorate right here so I have a nice flat surface for my application. All right, and this application is going to be a 2-color mixed media. So what we did was took our CAD cut patterns in polka dot and matched up the colors with the color in the tree skirt. All right, so we're going to apply that piece first. I'm going to remove my glitter flake. Just kind of eyeballing where center's at right now. Okay. All right, and I'm just going to tack this for 3 to 5 seconds. So patterns is one of those materials that we can use that tacking method with, where it starts to activate that adhesive just enough that it will adhere to the item. Now keep in mind, just because we were able to do that doesn't mean we can just let it go that way. We'll have to go back and cure this for the full recommended time and temperature. All right, so now I'm going to line up my contour. And for this one, I'm also going to tack again, okay? Reason being is anytime I'm working with glitter flake, there are some leftover glitter flake particles that stay onto the carrier. And they will actually transfer to matte heat transfer vinyl. So if I were to leave this on for the full application, I would chance getting glitter particles on the pattern. Now, some people prefer that, so they'll apply it for the full application, but not all of your customers are going to expect that. So I recommend just tacking and then going back in and covering with a cover sheet, since we now have exposed vinyl, and now applying for the full application. So 2 tacks, and then we apply for the full application. All right, so I'm still at that 18 seconds from using the flexible application pad, so I'm going to decrease this back to 10 seconds. All right, and that will do all of the countdown for me. I am at a light to medium pressure as well. All right, so I see a question from Kyle asking about Black Friday deals. Stay tuned, because we are going to have deals the whole week of Thanksgiving. So we'll be going live Monday on the 19th to kind of discuss that with you, or 18th or 19th, I can't remember which date is Monday. But that Monday, the week of Thanksgiving, we'll be announcing exactly what our deals will be for Black Friday. Okay, so this builds a lot of opportunity for me, because now I can offer this as a set. All right, so you can do package sets depending on how many people they have in the family. They'll be adding personalization to this, so this opens up a lot of opportunity for this time of year specifically. All right, so just think of other items that you could be decorating for home decor where people will want things personalized. Kitchen towels that they hang on their oven is a great opportunity. So just take that into consideration. What things can I personalize that my customers would love this time of year? That's a really popular option. All right, then we get into gifting, and some of the harder gifts to buy are typically for the men in our lives. So what we are going to be personalizing today for a man is a laptop case, and this is a faux leather laptop case, so it does look very high-end, but it is faux. All right, so keep that in mind. We are working with a heat-sensitive product here. So we're going to be using that flexible application pad to get that our heat transfer vinyl onto that design without, or onto that product without melting it. All right, so I am going to swap out my 16 by 20 and drop in the 11 by 15. Right. Okay, so I'm going to be working with this section of the laptop case, And since I'm laying everything right on top, but I know my zipper's off the back end of the platen, I don't have to worry about anything getting in the way of an even pressure. All right, so I am going to place this down so that I can test my pressure. All right, so I did load on a pretty thick item there, so I want to make sure that I have the right pressure for this without completely crushing the item. All right, so I'm lightening that up a little bit. All right, there we go. I can actually increase that a little bit more. All right. All right, so we're going to be using Premium Plus High Tack. So if you guys aren't familiar with our Premium Plus High Tack product, this is a new addition to the Premium Plus material that we had before. So it's that same Premium Plus heat transfer vinyl that you already know and love, but we put it on a high tack carrier so that we're able to achieve really fine detail in our design, such as this little registration mark. All right, so use Premium Plus High Tack for anything that you need for really intricate artwork that you know will be tough to weed and could potentially pick up off the carrier, because this does save that from happening. All right, it has that same silky, thin, lightweight finish. It's very matte, so it looks a lot like a screen print transfer. I'm just tacking that down again because we did not get the full application that we need for the flexible application on there. All right, so I'm going to do an additional 5 seconds there so we get our full 20 seconds. All right, so I did the 5 seconds the first time, 10 the second round, and then additional 5. Premium Plus High Tack is a hot peel, so I can peel this carrier back as soon as the heat press beeps at me. All right, so this is a great heat transfer vinyl to use on an item like this because it is so thin. And I'm going to try to hold this up to the camera well enough so that you can see that this material actually started to take on the finish of our faux leather. Okay, so it has that same exact texture as the faux leather that we applied it to. Okay, all right, and that is our last application of today's live broadcast. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment those in now as we're scrolling through. WholesaleBoutique.com, correct, Kristen? That is the website for that. All right, it looks like we're all good to go. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment those in. I'll be checking back after the broadcast to make sure I answered all of your questions, but that's all we have today, so thanks so much for joining me.